會場，同美國總統喬治布殊夫婦並排而坐，而胡錦濤就安排坐喺喬治布殊夫人勞拉旁邊。儀式喺朝早踏正10點鐘開始，俄羅斯國防部長伊萬諾夫檢閱三軍同埋武裝部隊。着上舊式軍裝嘅方陣首先經過主席台接受檢閱，代表戰爭時期蘇聯紅軍各個軍種同埋兵種。當呢啲卡車上一車車嘅當年老兵手持鮮花經過主禮台，全場嘉賓起立，揮手向呢批60年前喺戰場上出生入死嘅老兵致敬。呢啲老兵除咗喺歐洲戰場上同納粹德軍交鋒同埋參與過衛國戰爭之外，有部分亦都曾經前赴中國參加過抗日戰爭。二次大戰期間，軍人平民死亡人數超過5500萬，參戰國物資損失達到4萬億美元。18個方陣亦都展現咗現代俄羅斯武裝力量。俄羅斯總統普京話：今日唔單止係俄羅斯以及係獨聯體國家嘅日子，亦都係全世界嘅日子。呼籲大家唔好忘記過去慘痛嘅歷史，依家更加要聯手對抗恐怖主義。閱兵儀式歷時1個鐘頭。之後出席嘅領袖就步向克里姆林宮紅牆外嘅無名烈士墓獻花同埋默哀。當地嘅分析就認為，俄羅斯總統普京仍然舉辦咁大型嘅紀念活動，係希望可以重整俄羅斯喺國際舞台上嘅角色。亞洲電視記者李彤喺莫斯科報道。
國家主席胡錦濤喺莫斯科期間同俄羅斯總統普京會面。胡錦濤計劃7月訪問俄羅斯。普京喺克里姆林宮同胡錦濤會面。外電引述胡錦濤話，佢計劃7月到俄羅斯進行正式嘅訪問，而普京就話期待胡錦濤喺不久嘅將來到訪。外界預料兩個人到時會討論能源合作問題。日本外務省官員話，外務省次官星期5會喺北京同外交部官員會面，磋商兩國最近嘅多項爭議。會議為期2日，預料會講到東海油田問題。另外，日本國土交通省官員就話，會喺有主權爭議嘅沖鳥島樹立告示板，預料會引起中國不滿。
澳洲一間監獄發生囚犯挾持獄警，同獄方對峙接近2日，直至當局買意大利薄餅俾佢哋食，事件先至解決。事發嘅塔斯馬尼亞高設防監獄多處都俾人搗亂同埋塗污，食完嘅薄餅盒放喺地上邊。大約20個囚犯唔滿意獄中嘅膳食等等，上個星期6挾持一個獄警，佔據監獄嘅接待處。最後當局同意為佢哋外賣15個薄餅，佢哋食完之後釋放人質。睇睇天氣啦，天文台預測未來幾日係有驟雨同埋幾陣狂風雷暴，短暫時間有陽光，氣温介乎23到31度。而家係24度，相對濕度95%。
新聞站差唔多啦，
陣間有體育同埋經濟快訊。
晚安。
晚安。
貨櫃碼頭有幾十個貨櫃箱被吹倒，造成1死2傷。惡劣天氣又導致4個棚架同98棵樹倒冧，其中喺太子道倒冧嘅棚架現時仍未清理好。東行4條行車線全部封閉，九龍東區同過海隧道嘅交通晚上非常擠塞。易佩賢報導。
太子呢一棟商業大廈中午倒塌嘅棚架到晚上仍然未清理好，東行4條行車線一直封閉。警方表示，封路影響到紅磡海隧由香港過九龍嘅交通。紅磡海底隧道表示，最嚴重嘅時候，即係下晝5點至夜晚9點幾，由香港過九龍最少需要30分鐘。龍尾一度排到去香港仔隧道，直到晚上9點過後，過海嘅交通先至回復暢順。
由大約6點半鐘上車到，咁啊變咗喺土瓜灣落咗車，咁啊行路過嚟咯。
總共塞咗幾多鐘？
差唔多4個鐘到。
好唔滿意佢嗰個效率咯，交通嘅即係處理塌棚架嘅工程啊，應該好快揾人搬走嗰啲嘢㗎嘛，有咩理由搞到交通大混亂咁啊？
另外，亞皆老街近西洋菜街下晝亦都有棚架竹枝墮下，警員要封路清理，多條巴士路線要改道。而喺九龍塘窩打老道近希福道，一棵40尺高嘅大樹被強風吹到連根拔起。本港全日一共有4宗棚架倒冧意外，以及98棵樹倒冧。 無線電視記者易佩賢報導。
陳偉利而家就喺太子道倒冧棚架嘅現場。偉利啊，現場仲要幾耐先至清理好啊？
屋宇署話啦，預計要午夜嘅時間呢，所有鞏固工作呢先至能夠完成，之後呢先至能夠解封㗎。我哋睇下現場嘅情況啦。太子道西呢4條行車線呢都係封閉㗎，可以見到呢工程人員呢喺現場呢進行一啲嘅加固工作。佢哋呢係因為冧棚架冧落嚟啦，而受到影響啦，而搖搖欲墜嘅水塔呢進行一啲鞏固嘅工作㗎。屋宇署署長鄔滿海呢夜晚呢曾經去到現場視察啦。屋宇署話啦，由於呢夜晚嘅時候翻嚟睇過啦，發現呢個鞏固工程嘅效果呢並未如理想㗎，所以呢要求呢封鎖4條行車線，預計呢希望呢可以午夜嘅時間先可以做到㗎。我喺度報道咁多，交翻俾李欣吳先瑩。
唔該晒你，陳偉利。葵涌貨櫃碼頭有幾十個貨櫃箱被吹倒，造成1死2傷。黃家俊報導。
喺9號貨櫃碼頭6層高架貨櫃箱，其中20幾個空置貨櫃被吹倒，貨櫃壓住一架貨櫃車，男司機被困，由消防員救出之後證實死亡。貨櫃場一名工人膊頭受傷，事後自行到醫院求醫。跌落嚟嘅貨櫃亦橫跨咗2條行車線，交通一度受阻。喺差唔多時間，4號貨櫃碼頭亦有貨櫃箱塌下。一個貨櫃車司機受重傷被困，送往瑪嘉烈醫院救治。2宗意外都喺中午12點幾發生。天文台話，當時葵涌貨櫃碼頭受雷雨區影響，颳起狂風雷暴。
嗱，通常咧喺一啲好強嘅雷暴區域咧，
發出黃色暴雨警告。喺2點幾隨下，本港廣泛地區都落大雨，部分地區錄到超過40毫米雨量。天文台預測未來2日仍然有驟雨同埋狂風雷暴。無線電視記者黃家俊報導。
狂風暴雨之下，打鼓嶺有居民聲稱遭龍捲風吹襲，一間村屋輕微損毀，有棚架倒冧，造成2死2傷。李善文報導。
喺中山一個家私商場外面，一段20幾米長嘅棚架喺風雨中倒冧，2個人被壓死，2個人受輕傷。有目擊者話，其中一個死者係途經嘅電單車司機。事發朝早10點左右，當時有大風雨，懷疑棚架被強風吹冧。喺廣州，氣象台一度發出黃色暴雨信號，一棵有幾十年歷史嘅老樹被大風雨吹到連根拔起，壓毀咗一啲電線，又壓住路邊2架貨車，樹幹仲整爛咗附近住宅嘅窗。另外，多班前往廣州嘅內陸航班受到惡劣天氣影響，要轉飛深圳同埋桂林。深圳亦都發出黃色暴雨信號，部分地區降雨量超過50毫米，多處路面積水。氣象部門估計未來1-2日天氣仍然唔穩定。無線電視記者李善文報導。
本港2間石油公
Morning amid fears of a gridlock.
年期嘅蘇聯紅軍制服操過紅牆，之後2000幾名老兵坐住仿製嘅2戰時期軍用卡車出場，接受全場人嘅致敬。卡車排成嘅方陣同當年戰勝之後紅牆閱兵嘅次序一樣。7000幾名軍人着住現代軍服出場。最後，俄羅斯嘅米格29同蘇27戰機喺紅牆上空劃過，噴出紅白藍3色嘅長煙，即係俄羅斯國旗嘅組成顏色。俄羅斯總統普京發表演說話，會永遠記住盟軍嘅支持，唔能夠俾冷戰或者真正嘅戰爭再次發生。出席莫斯科閱兵儀式嘅包括中國國家主席胡錦濤、美國總統喬治布殊同埋日本首相小泉純一郎等。無線電視記者郭榮嘉報道。
手提電話越嚟越多功能，配套服務亦都相繼產生。
工作沒有娛樂嘛？你還記得嗎？怎麼樣
？World War II Europe. The controversy was sparked by US President George W. Bush's comments that the end of the war brought oppression to the Baltic states. Bush and his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, were among dozens of world leaders on hand at Moscow's Red Square today, commemorating the 60th anniversary of the Allied victory over Nazi Germany. David Nye reports.
Moscow pulled out all the stops at a grand and pompous celebration marking the 60th anniversary of the Allied victory over Nazi Germany. After all, the victory was brought about largely by the Red Army's valor and Soviet citizens' forbearance amid fierce suffering, which cost the Soviet Union 27 million lives. Over 50 world leaders and thousands more were treated to a military parade that featured World War II-era tanks and jets, and a military parade which they have come to expect from Russia. In his keynote speech, Putin said Moscow will always remember the support of the U.S. and European allies in defeating Nazism. But the festivities may have been darkened by the stormy debate over Moscow's Eastern European adventure after the fall of Nazi Germany. The storm erupted after President Bush called the Soviet domination one of the greatest wrongs and pointed to Baltic states as an example of democracy for Russia. Prior to today's parade, Bush and Putin met for more than an hour at the Kremlin leader's country estate. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov sidestepped the issue, saying the two leaders focused on the Middle East where they share similar views. However, U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice addressed the matter, insisting that it proves that the two men may have developed a relationship where nothing is taboo. And to dispel talk of a rift, Putin let Bush take his vintage Russian car out for a spin.
We're having so much fun, we're going for another lap.
David Nye, TVB News.
U.S. forces have launched a major offensive against insurgents and foreign militants in western Iraq. 75 guerrillas were killed in Anbar province near the Syrian border in the first 24 hours of the campaign, which is expected to last several days. Violence, however, continues unabated elsewhere in the country. A suicide car bomb exploded at an intersection in southern Baghdad, killing 3 Iraqis, including 2 police officers.
Made any demands, but Japan's Defense Minister Yoshinori Ono effectively ruled out a withdrawal of Japanese troops from Iraq, saying their mission would continue. In western Iraq, hundreds of American troops are hunting down insurgents in their biggest offensive since the battle for Fallujah last November. The U.S. military says it's killed as many as 100 rebels in the first 2 days of the assault on remote desert villages.
The American anthem played today in honor of the first visit by a U.S. president to Georgia, the birthplace of Joseph Stalin. At Tbilisi's Freedom Square, tens of thousands of people gave Bush a rousing welcome.
Welcome to Georgia, Mr. President.
Bush paid tribute to the so-called Rose Revolution of 2003, when Georgians toppled an unpopular government, inspiring similar people power movements in Ukraine and Kyrgyzstan.
Your courage is inspiring democratic reformers and sending a message that echoes across the world. Freedom will be the future of every nation and every people on earth.
Bush pledged support for Georgia's goal of eventual NATO membership. He also called on all nations to respect Georgia's territorial integrity, but otherwise trod warily around disputes between Tbilisi and Moscow. Bush made no public mention of the conflict raging in neighboring Chechnya, and in talks with Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili, Bush said negotiations were the way to settle arguments over Moscow's support for 2 breakaway regions and the continued presence in Georgia of 2 Russian military bases. Bush's visit to Tbilisi, which began last night, wrapped up a 4-nation European tour focusing on 60th anniversary commemorations of the defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II. Judging from appearances, this stop was the one the US leader enjoyed the most. Jeremy Austin, TVB News.
Surgeons in New Zealand have developed a new device which they hope will prove to be a less risky treatment option for patients who are suffering from heart failure. Last week they implanted the C-Pulse into a first patient. This uses an electrical component to stimulate blood flow without replacing.